Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of the Bondsman? Released on April 3rd, 2025, this action-packed, supernatural thriller has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. Movie introduction and overview. The world of television is no stranger to supernatural thrills, but every now and then, a show comes along that shakes up the formula and redefines what we expect from the genre. The Bondsman is one such series, and it arrives with a bold promise to blend action, horror, and redemption in ways you've never seen before. Premiering on April 3rd, 2025, The Bondsman is a mini-series that guarantees to keep you on the edge of your seat from the very first frame. This show takes everything you think you know about bounty hunters, demons, and the supernatural and flips it on its head. What if the bounty hunter was brought back to life by the devil himself, tasked with hunting down demons for his redemption? Yes, The Bondsman introduces a wild, action-packed, and emotionally rich narrative about a man forced to confront his past sins while battling an underworld full of demons. It's a series that's been eagerly awaited, and now that it's here, it's clear that it's going to be a cultural touchstone for 2025. This is a show that draws you into a world where redemption is earned not through good deeds, but through life-or-death demon hunts. But while the premise is exciting, it's the performances, the atmosphere, and the underlying emotional depth that make The Bondsman truly stand out. What makes The Bondsman extraordinary? It's a masterful blend of gritty, high-octane action, chilling supernatural horror, and profound emotional stakes. It's not just a demon-hunting series. It's a show about redemption, personal transformation, and the consequences of past actions. The world building is immersive, the stakes are high, and the characters are deeply layered, making it not only a thrilling ride but also a poignant journey of self-discovery. If you're someone who loves to dive into stories that are rich in lore and filled with twists and turns, The Bondsman is an experience you simply can't miss. At the heart of this world is Hub Halloran, a man who starts out as a hardened, cynical bounty hunter. But when tragedy strikes, Hub finds himself thrown into a world far darker than any he's ever known. Played by the legendary Kevin Bacon, Hub's journey is both harrowing and captivating. Bacon, known for his ability to balance intensity with vulnerability, brings Hub to life in a way that makes you care about him, even when he's dealing with demons, both literal and metaphorical. This isn't just a man on a mission. This is a man trying to reckon with his past and seek redemption, even if that redemption comes at a brutal price. In a sense, The Bondsman is as much about the supernatural world it creates as it is about the very human struggle within it. It's about the consequences of past mistakes, the heavy burden of guilt, and the slim hope of a second chance, even if that second chance means going to hell and beyond. Plot summary. The plot of The Bondsman takes viewers on a wild ride through a dark, supernatural underworld. Hub Halloran, a no-nonsense bounty hunter, meets a violent end, only to be resurrected by none other than the devil himself. However, this resurrection is far from a gift. It comes with a catch. Hub is forced to become a demon hunter, tasked with tracking down rogue demons that have escaped from the fiery depths of hell. The demons are wreaking havoc on Earth, and Hub is the one who must bring them to justice. But the clock is ticking. Each demon he captures brings him one step closer to redemption. But the stakes are high, and the path to redemption is fraught with peril. From the moment Hub is brought back to life, the show wastes no time throwing him into a series of intense and action-packed hunts. Each demon encounter is a high-stakes battle, with Hub relying on his sharp skills and quick reflexes to survive. The demon hunting scenes are packed with tension, gore, and jaw-dropping action sequences. But as much as the show is about these brutal hunts, it's equally about Hub's emotional journey. He's not just fighting demons. He's fighting the demons of his past, struggling with the weight of his sins, and the fragile hope that redemption is still within reach. As the series progresses, we're introduced to a rich cast of characters, each with their own motivations, secrets, and backstories. Jennifer Nettles plays a key ally to Hub, a character whose past is shrouded in mystery. Their chemistry is electric, and their partnership is one of the driving forces behind the show. Along with the supporting cast, played by the talented Beth Grant, Damon Harriman, and Maxwell Jenkins, the world of the Bondsman becomes even more vibrant and complex. Every character feels like they have a purpose, and no one is there by accident. One of the show's key elements is its evil creatures. As he journeys deeper into the underworld, he begins to realize that not all demons are the same, and that redemption is not a one-size-fits-all concept. This moral ambiguity gives the show a depth that makes it more than just another supernatural action series. It's a philosophical exploration of what it means to be human, to make mistakes, and to seek forgiveness. Visually, The Bondsman is a masterpiece. The world building is second to none, with each setting, from the gritty, rain-soaked streets of Hub's world to the fiery, otherworldly landscapes of hell, crafted with incredible attention to detail. The action scenes are brutal and high-octane, but the more intimate moments are just as striking. The cinematography is both dark and beautiful, creating a mood that's both thrilling and eerie. But perhaps the most striking aspect of the series is the emotional depth it offers. It's a show that's not afraid to delve into difficult themes: guilt, redemption, loss, and the human condition. It's a world filled with supernatural creatures and high-stakes action, but at its core, The Bondsman is a deeply personal story about a man trying to make amends for his past and find a way back to some semblance of peace. Kevin Bacon's portrayal of Hub Halloran is nothing short of mesmerizing, and he brings a humanity to the character that anchors the entire show. Why The Bondsman became a cultural phenomenon. From the moment it was announced, The Bondsman quickly became one of the most anticipated releases of 2025. The show's unique blend of genres, combined with Kevin Bacon's undeniable star power, created a buzz that was impossible to ignore. But what truly set The Bondsman apart was its willingness to tackle themes of redemption and personal growth through a supernatural lens. It's a series that challenges viewers to rethink what they know about morality, punishment, and second chances. The show became a cultural phenomenon because it tapped into something universal: our desire for redemption, our struggle with guilt, and the quest for meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and unjust. It's a narrative that resonates with viewers on a deeply emotional level, and it doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of life. The show's complexity, both in terms of its supernatural elements and its character arcs, keeps audiences coming back, episode after episode, eager to see how Hub's journey will unfold. But it's not just the writing and performances that made The Bondsman a hit. The show's ability to capture a sense of visual and emotional awe is something that's hard to come by in modern television. It's one of those rare series that blends action with depth, horror with humanity, and spectacle with heart. Fans flocked to the show not just because it was exciting or thrilling, but because it made them feel something real. In a landscape filled with formulaic content, The Bondsman is a breath of fresh air. A series that makes you think, makes you feel, and makes you question everything you thought you knew about redemption. Why viewers should dive deeper. For anyone who loves an action-packed supernatural story with heart, The Bondsman is a must-watch. It's not just a series about demon hunts and epic battles. It's about a man's struggle to reconcile with his past, his guilt, and his hope for redemption. The performances, particularly Kevin Bacon's portrayal of Hub, are riveting, and the world building is immersive and visually stunning. The Bondsman isn't just a show, it's an experience. A journey into a dark world where every choice counts, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If you haven't yet jumped into the world of The Bondsman, now's the time. The show's intricate storytelling, unforgettable characters, and emotional depth will draw you in from the very first episode. And as the series unfolds, you'll find yourself caught up in a web of twists, turns, and revelations that make it impossible to look away. So what are you waiting for? Dive into the world of The Bondsman and experience a supernatural series unlike any other. With its perfect blend of action, heart, and supernatural intrigue, this is one show you won't want to miss. Trust us, you'll be talking about it long after the credits roll. First half, plot breakdown of The Bondsman. The city is dark, its skyline blurred by the constant drizzle of rain, casting an ominous, almost noir-like atmosphere. The streets are empty except for the occasional passing car and the muffled sound of footsteps from those few who dare venture out. It's the perfect setting for a bounty hunter, a man who lives on the edge, who exists in the shadows, never fully stepping into the light. This is the world of Hub Halloran. From the very first moment the Bondsman thrusts you into the gritty, harsh life of Hub, a bounty hunter with years of experience in tracking down criminals. Played by Kevin Bacon with his usual blend of charisma and underlying vulnerability, Hub is no stranger to danger. He's a man shaped by his past, his emotions buried deep beneath the layers of toughness and resolve he's built up over the years. But beneath that hardened exterior is a man who's been running from his own demons, both literal and figurative. At the beginning of the series, Hub's life seems routine. He's hired to capture a fugitive, a job he's done countless times. But this time, things go horribly wrong. The fugitive, in a moment of desperation, pulls a gun and shoots Hub down in cold blood. His life is cut short in an instant. But death, it turns out, is just the beginning for Hub Halloran. In a shocking twist, Hub wakes up in a world that's not his own. Gone is the harsh reality of crime-ridden streets. Instead, Hub finds himself face-to-face with a towering figure, the devil himself. Played by an imposing figure, the devil is neither menacing nor kind. He's simply a force of nature, a being with rules and expectations. And one of those rules is that Hub is not done yet. His death was not the end. Instead, it's the beginning of a new, twisted bargain. The devil offers Hub a second chance at life, but not without a price. To earn his redemption, Hub must hunt down demons who have escaped the fiery pits of hell. These demons aren't the stuff of fairy tales. They're dangerous, terrifying creatures who feed off the fear and chaos of the human world. Hub's mission is clear. Track down these rogue demons and bring them back to hell before they can wreak havoc on Earth. It's a deal Hub has no choice but to accept. But it's not the typical deal with the devil. There's no glamour here, no promises of wealth or power. Hub is not simply hunting demons to save the world. He's hunting them for his own redemption, to find a way to undo the mistakes of his past. He doesn't even know if redemption is truly possible, only that it's the only path left for him. The twist is striking, setting the tone for the rest of the series. What's at stake is not just Hub's life, but his soul. This is no ordinary bounty hunting job. It's a fight for survival, a struggle for a second chance in a world that seems bent on keeping him down. As the first episode unfolds, you can feel the weight of the mission on Hub's shoulders. Every demon he hunts is a reminder of his past sins, of the man he used to be, and the man he hopes to become. Key characters and their early conflicts. Hub's journey doesn't take place in isolation. Along the way, he meets a cast of characters who each bring their own unique energy to the story. One of the first is a woman named Delilah, played by Jennifer Nettles, a mysterious figure who crosses paths with Hub early on. Delilah is a survivor, a woman who's seen the worst of what the world has to offer, but still has a sense of purpose and determination. She's not exactly a partner in Hub's mission, but her presence feels essential. She's sharp, resourceful, and skeptical of Hub's new role in the demon-hunting world. There's an immediate tension between them. Delilah has no patience for Hub's tough guy act, and Hub doesn't trust anyone easily. The two butt heads more than once, but it's clear that they need each other to survive the dark world they're now both part of. As their uneasy partnership develops, Delilah becomes a window into Hub's character. She challenges him to confront his past and question the choices he's made. She's also the one who starts to pry at the cracks in Hub's cold exterior, pulling him out of his shell and forcing him to confront the humanity he's buried deep inside. But Delilah is also hiding her own secrets, ones that are only slowly revealed as the show progresses. She's not just an ally to Hub. She's a reminder that redemption isn't just about fighting demons. It's about facing your own demons and the consequences of your actions. Meanwhile, Hub's former partner in crime, Ray, played by Damon, enters the picture, complicating things further. Ray is an unpredictable figure, someone who's both loyal to Hub and also keen on his own survival. As the series unfolds, it becomes clear that Ray has his own reasons for staying close to Hub, and his motivations are far from clear. Is he a friend, or does he have his own agenda? The tension between Ray and Hub adds an additional layer of intrigue to the story, especially as Hub begins to question who he can truly trust. These early conflicts set the stage for the emotional and moral dilemmas Hub will face throughout the series. His past as a bounty hunter, his relationship with those closest to him, and his struggle to find redemption all come into play, driving the narrative forward in unexpected ways. Pivotal moments and foreshadowing twists. One of the earliest pivotal moments that sets the tone for the series occurs when Hub is forced to track down his first demon, a creature that was once human, but has since been transformed into something far darker. This hunt is an intense, heart-pounding sequence where Hub's raw instincts and lethal precision come into play. He's in unfamiliar territory. This isn't just about taking down criminals anymore. This is a battle for his soul. The demon he faces is both monstrous and tragic, a reminder that the line between good and evil isn't always as clear as it seems. Hub's encounter with this first demon is a bloody, brutal fight that leaves him shaken, yet resolute. It's a defining moment for his character and foreshadows the kinds of battles he'll face moving forward. As Hub gets deeper into his demon-hunting mission, he begins to uncover hints that not everything is as it seems. The demons he's hunting aren't just random threats. They're connected to something larger, something more sinister. There are whispers of an ancient pact, a hidden truth about why Hub was chosen for this particular task, and the possibility that the devil might have his own agenda. As the first few episodes unfold, these threads of mystery begin to weave together, suggesting that Hub's role in this cosmic struggle is far more complicated than he ever imagined. The visuals, too, are used to foreshadow these twists. The scenes of hell, when they occur, are haunting and surreal, filled with twisted landscapes and terrifying creatures. These sequences not only build the supernatural world but also serve to remind Hub and the audience that the line between life and death, good and evil, is fragile. Hub's journey into hell isn't just physical. It's psychological, too. He's forced to confront not just demons, but his own deepest fears and regrets. Another key moment that hints at a much larger conflict is the conversation Hub has with the devil himself in the early episodes. The devil, while seemingly offering Hub a chance at redemption, is also a master manipulator. Hub is no fool, and he begins to see cracks in the devil's promises. Is redemption even possible? Or is Hub merely a pawn in a much larger, more sinister game? This dialogue, loaded with double meanings and veiled threats, serves as a stark reminder that in this world, nothing is ever truly what it seems. As the first half of the Bondsman nears its climax, Hub faces his toughest battle yet. He's not just up against demons. He's up against the very forces of fate, destiny, and his own past. With every demon he captures, Hub learns more about the world he's been thrust into, but also about himself. The first half of the series builds toward an explosive conclusion, setting up even darker and more thrilling challenges for Hub. His journey has only just begun, and with each new twist, the stakes grow higher. By the time the first half of the series comes to an end, the tension is unbearable. Hub has begun to change. He's no longer just a bounty hunter with a simple goal. He's a man on a quest for redemption, one who must decide whether to embrace the darkness within him or fight against it. The line between good and evil has never been so blurred, and the road ahead promises to be filled with even more peril, mystery, and unimaginable twists. As we leave Hub at this pivotal point, the audience is left with one burning question. Can Hub truly find redemption, or will he be consumed by the very demons he's sworn to hunt? The stakes are now higher than ever, and the world of the Bondsman has become a darker, more complex place. Hub Halloran, once a hardened bounty hunter, has undergone a profound transformation since his resurrection by the devil. His journey is no longer about just hunting demons. It's about uncovering a truth far more dangerous than he ever anticipated. The second half of The Bondsman deepens the series' exploration of redemption, morality, and fate, leading to shocking revelations that redefine the course of Hub's journey. The narrative kicks into overdrive as Hub, now more entrenched in the world of demon hunting, begins to uncover the true nature of the task the devil has set before him. What started as a series of hunts to capture demons for a supposed redemption soon becomes much more personal. Hub realizes that the demons he's tracking aren't just random escapees from hell. They are connected to something far more ominous. A hidden conspiracy within the very fabric of the supernatural realm. The awakening of a dark truth. The pivotal moment in the second half arrives when Hub hunts down a powerful demon, one unlike any he has faced before. This demon, named Azrael, reveals a chilling truth to Hub. It's not just Hub's sins that he's being forced to atone for, but the sins of an entire world, one that the devil has been manipulating for centuries. Azrael drops a bombshell. Hub's death was no accident. He was chosen as a pawn in a much larger game. A game orchestrated by the devil himself, who has been pulling strings in the mortal world for centuries, creating chaos and manipulating events to maintain his control over both hell and earth. This revelation hits Hub like a freight train. He begins to realize that everything he has done so far, his hunts, his battles, even his supposed chance at redemption, has been part of a twisted plan set into motion long before he ever came into the picture. Azrael's words cut to the core, not only revealing the true nature of his mission but also forcing Hub to question his own morality. Was he ever in control of his own actions, or was he simply another pawn, trapped in a game he didn't understand? This revelation sends Hub into an emotional spiral, and he begins to push back against the very forces that resurrected him. He refuses to be a puppet any longer, building tensions and unlikely alliances. With the weight of this newfound knowledge, Hub becomes determined to break free from the devil's control. But the path to freedom is not a simple one. To do so, he must confront the demons that have been unleashed upon Earth, not as a hunter, but as someone who is fighting for something more than just his own survival. This shift in mindset changes the nature of his hunts, turning each confrontation into not only a physical battle but a moral one. Delilah, who has grown closer to Hub over the course of the series, becomes even more integral in the second half. Her skepticism about Hub's mission intensifies when she learns the full extent of the devil's manipulation. At first, Delilah has a hard time believing that Hub's mission was anything more than a standard hunt for redemption. However, as more pieces of the puzzle fall into place, she begins to understand that there is far more at stake than either of them anticipated. The two form an even tighter bond, now united by a common goal: to expose the devil's true plan and put an end to his reign of control. Ray's character arc also evolves during the second half. Initially seen as a loose cannon, Ray's own dark past begins to surface. His connection to the world of hell is revealed. Ray, it turns out, has been working with the devil in some capacity all along. He was part of the original pact that bound Hub to his demon-hunting mission. As Hub's journey unfolds, Ray's loyalty comes into question. Is he truly a friend, or has he been working with the devil as a double agent all this time? The tension between Hub and Ray grows as Ray is forced to choose sides in this increasingly dangerous conflict. One of the most thrilling moments in the second half occurs when Ray's true allegiance is revealed. In an explosive confrontation between Hub and Ray, the truth comes out. Ray was never a true ally but rather a spy, watching Hub's every move for the devil. This betrayal cuts deep for Hub, who feels the sting of being manipulated by yet another person he trusted. The emotional weight of this moment is compounded by the realization that Ray is not just an enemy. He's a reflection of Hub's own vulnerability and the fact that the devil's reach extends far deeper than Hub could have imagined. Climactic demon hunts and battles. As Hub and Delilah work together to unravel the devil's plot, the action intensifies. With each new demon Hub hunts, the stakes grow higher. The demons are no longer just mindless beasts. They are powerful creatures with personal stakes of their own. Some demons even try to manipulate Hub, offering him false promises of redemption or power, further complicating his moral struggle. The battle between good and evil blurs, and Hub is forced to decide which path he will take. One of the most gripping sequences comes when Hub faces off against the demon queen, Lilith. She is one of the most powerful entities he's encountered, and their confrontation is both physical and psychological. Lilith taunts Hub, reminding him of his past sins and the reason he was chosen for this mission. In a battle that tests not only his combat skills but his resolve, Hub finally defeats Lilith, but not without significant cost. The Demon Queen's final words to him are haunting. "You are not free, Hub Halloran. Not yet. The devil will always own you." These words linger in Hub's mind, casting a shadow over the victory. Was defeating Lilith a step toward freedom, or just another victory in a game that was never really his to win? The emotional weight of this moment is palpable, as Hub's struggle for redemption feels increasingly futile in the face of the devil's manipulation. Revelation of the devil's true plan. As the series nears its climax, Hub uncovers the full scope of the devil's plan. The demons he has been hunting are not just rogue entities. They are part of an ancient rebellion against the devil's rule. The devil has been orchestrating the hunts all along, not to maintain order in hell, but to consolidate his power over both realms. By capturing the demons, Hub has been unknowingly strengthening the devil's grip on both earth and hell. Every kill has brought the devil closer to ultimate power, and Hub's role has always been to help facilitate that plan. This revelation hits Hub hard, and it forces him to make an agonizing choice. To stop the devil, he must stop himself. He must break the very cycle that has been set in motion by his resurrection. The emotional stakes are at their highest, as Hub realizes that his quest for redemption may ultimately lead to the destruction of the world he has fought to protect. Can he sacrifice his desire for redemption to stop the devil's apocalyptic plans? Final confrontation and resolution. The series reaches its emotional and action-packed crescendo when Hub finally confronts the devil in an epic showdown. In this final confrontation, everything Hub has learned and struggled with comes to a head. The devil reveals that Hub's death and resurrection were not an accident but a calculated move in a much larger game. The devil had always planned to use Hub as a pawn, and Hub's choices have been manipulated from the start. However, Hub refuses to accept his fate. In a powerful and emotional moment, he rejects the devil's offers of power, control, and eternal damnation. Instead, he chooses to defy the devil's plan, even at the cost of his own life. Hub's final act of defiance, destroying the very essence of the devil's power, results in a cataclysmic battle that tears apart the realms of earth and hell. But in the end, it's not just Hub's physical strength that defeats the devil. It's his willingness to confront his own demons, his past sins, and his flawed humanity. By choosing to fight for his own redemption, Hub shatters the devil's hold on him, breaking the cycle and ending the twisted bargain. In the aftermath, Hub's fate remains uncertain. The devil is vanquished, and the balance between earth and hell is restored, but Hub's own redemption is left open-ended. He's no longer bound by the devil's pact, but the scars of his past still linger. The series ends with Hub walking into an uncertain future, free from the devil's influence but haunted by the memories of his past. The final scene is poignant, leaving the audience to question whether redemption is truly attainable for anyone, or if it's just an illusion we all chase, knowing we may never reach it. The Bondsman ends on a note of bittersweet resolution, leaving behind a legacy of deep, emotional exploration that will resonate long after the credits roll. When you watch The Bondsman, it doesn't take long to realize that it's not just about the battles between celestial forces, demons, and the undead. It's about the characters, their motivations, transformations, and relationships weave together in a way that makes the supernatural elements feel deeply human, almost more real than the world they inhabit. This is a show driven by its characters, and at its core is Hub Halloran, a man-turned-undead bounty hunter, whose personal journey is as much about his own redemption as it is about battling the forces of hell. Kevin Bacon, in the role of Hub Halloran, brings a gritty authenticity to the character that is undeniable. The first time we meet Hub, he's everything you expect from a hardened bounty hunter. Rough around the edges, confident, and emotionally distant. He's a man who's lived his life in pursuit of money and justice, but what's striking about Hub from the start is his emotional detachment. There's something about him that feels incomplete, as though there's a hole in his soul that he's been trying to fill with his work. But death, as we soon learn, has a funny way of interrupting our lives. And for Hub, death is where his real journey begins. Hub's resurrection by Lucifer, the dark and manipulative figure who remains both an adversary and an uneasy ally throughout the series, isn't just a plot twist, it's a metamorphosis. A man who once lived a life driven by his own willpower is now beholden to forces beyond his control. He is forced into servitude, bound to capture demons to earn his redemption. The emotional conflict this creates within him is the backbone of his character arc. On one hand, he's driven by a desire to regain what he lost, his life, his humanity. But on the other hand, he resents the supernatural forces that took him from the world he knew. In this struggle, Hub grapples with the duality of being undead. Part of him still longs for the life he once had, while the other part is trying to reconcile with his new, cursed existence. It's Bacon's performance that really brings this internal conflict to life. There are moments where you see Hub trying to maintain control, trying to assert his will over the demons he's hunting. But then there are the quieter moments where Bacon allows Hub's vulnerability to surface. His scenes of solitude, when he's grappling with the loneliness of being undead or the weight of his past, are powerful and layered. Bacon's portrayal makes Hub feel like a tragic hero, someone who is stuck between two worlds, desperately trying to make sense of his place in them. This transformation from a hardened bounty hunter to an undead soul searcher is a journey of emotional depth, and Kevin Bacon's nuanced performance anchors it all. The relationship between Hub and Lucifer is one of the most compelling dynamics in the series. Lucifer, portrayed with chilling charisma, is both a master and a manipulator, playing the role of a guiding force who's not necessarily evil, but certainly self-serving. He sees Hub as a tool, but there's an undeniable complexity to their relationship. As the series unfolds, we realize that Lucifer's interest in Hub is not purely transactional. There's a sense of intrigue, perhaps even a flicker of respect for this man who refuses to bend entirely to the whims of fate. Their interactions, filled with sharp dialogue and psychological games, showcase a fascinating balance of power. Lucifer's presence often leaves Hub walking a thin line, sometimes a willing participant in the game, sometimes a reluctant pawn. But what makes Lucifer such an intriguing character is his ability to see through people, to see what they desire most and use it against them. In this twisted partnership, both characters are forced to confront the complexities of their motivations and desires. But Hub's journey isn't solely defined by his relationship with Lucifer. Enter Marianne, portrayed by Jennifer Nettles, a figure from Hub's past who represents both an anchor to his old life and a challenge to his new existence. Their chemistry is palpable, as the two share a bond that's steeped in history, guilt, and longing. Marianne, like Hub, is a product of her circumstances, driven by her own set of moral codes that are put to the test as the story progresses. She's not entirely good, nor entirely bad. There's a gray area to her character that makes her one of the most fascinating figures in the series. Throughout the story, she serves as a constant reminder of what Hub has lost, but also what he still holds on to. Her role in Hub's emotional arc is undeniable, as she pushes him to reconsider what redemption really means. The supporting characters, too, add essential layers to the story. Beth Grant's portrayal of Kitty is another standout performance. She's a wild card in every sense of the word, balancing between unpredictable chaos and moments of profound clarity. Kitty's role in the supernatural world is essential, as she serves as both a thorn in Hub's side and an unlikely ally at times. Her unpredictable nature brings a sense of tension to every scene she's in, and her interactions with Hub force him to reconsider the morality of his quest. In a world where the lines between right and wrong are blurred, Kitty challenges Hub to think beyond the simple notion of good and evil. Then there's Lucky, played by Damon. Lucky is a character you might initially dismiss as comic relief, but as the series progresses, you realize that he's much more than that. Lucky has a darker side, a history that makes him both sympathetic and dangerous. He's a foil to Hub in many ways, providing both an opportunity for Hub to confront his own flaws and an occasional source of comic relief in the midst of the chaos. Harriman's performance is both understated and complex, offering glimpses into Lucky's tragic past while never fully revealing all his cards. He's a character whose motivations are always in question, keeping the audience on edge. The role of Cade, portrayed by Maxwell Jenkins, is another significant addition to the supporting cast. Cade is a young soul caught in the turmoil of the supernatural world, and his relationship with Hub is fraught with tension and emotional depth. Cade represents innocence in a world that has no place for it, and his interactions with Hub force the older bounty hunter to reflect on his own lost innocence. His arc is one of the most poignant in the series, as he challenges Hub to confront the very essence of what it means to be human. It's these supporting characters, all of whom are multifaceted and deeply connected to Hub's journey, that elevate the Bondsman from a simple supernatural action series to a rich, emotionally complex narrative. Each of these characters plays a crucial role in Hub's transformation, whether they're allies or antagonists. They push Hub to grow, to reconsider his place in the world, and ultimately to decide whether he's truly capable of redemption. As we witness Hub's transformation, we also see the evolution of the world around him. The celestial realm, the underworld, and the human world are all intertwined in ways that we slowly begin to understand through the characters' experiences. The Bondsman uses these supernatural forces not just as a backdrop for action, but as reflections of the inner struggles of its characters. The world of demons, angels, and hellish landscapes serves as an extension of the characters' personal battles, bringing to life the show's central themes of redemption, free will, and the consequences of our actions. By the end of the series, we see Hub in a new light. The journey from a cynical, disillusioned bounty hunter to a man who has come to terms with his past and his future is a powerful transformation. It's not just about fighting demons. It's about understanding himself, his purpose, and whether he can ever truly be free from the bonds that hold him. The arc of his character is a poignant reminder that redemption is not something given. It's something earned, and it often comes at a great personal cost. In the end, what makes the Bondsman so unforgettable isn't just the supernatural spectacle or the gripping action. It's the emotional resonance of its characters. Through their journeys, the show forces us to confront the complexities of morality, fate, and redemption. And as we follow these characters through a world of dark forces and celestial machinations, we're left wondering, can anyone truly escape the chains of their past? Or are we all, in the end, bound by the choices we make? In the first few moments of The Bondsman, when Hub Halloran meets his untimely demise at the hands of a criminal, many viewers might be caught off guard by the sheer brutality of the scene. But if you look closely, you'll notice something unusual. An old photograph clutched in Hub's hand just before his life slips away. The photo features a woman who, as it turns out, plays a pivotal role in his past. Marianne, his once love. The image isn't just a snapshot of his personal history. It's a subtle foreshadowing of the emotional complexities Hub will face as he's drawn back into the supernatural world. Throughout the series, we see various moments where Hub gazes at the photo, his emotions flickering between love, regret, and longing. The photo itself acts as a haunting reminder of what Hub has lost, but also serves as a visual representation of his internal struggle to balance his past with his present. As Hub becomes entangled in Lucifer's labyrinthine schemes, the celestial realm begins to take shape, not as a simple heaven versus hell dichotomy, but as a much more complex and morally gray world. The visual design of Lucifer's domain subtly hints at something deeper, something that rewards those familiar with ancient mythologies and religious symbolism. Take, for instance, the architecture of Lucifer's domain, which incorporates classical Greco-Roman elements fused with Gothic architecture. The intricate carvings on the walls of his palace are riddled with symbolism that could be easy to miss at first glance. Though they seem like decorative motifs, they actually represent the different stages of a soul's journey through the afterlife. Look closely at the circular patterns. Each one mirrors the shape of the ancient Greek labyrinth, a symbol of personal transformation, entrapment, and eventual escape. The design foreshadows Hub's own journey as he navigates his personal maze of guilt, redemption, and the desire to break free from Lucifer's clutches. Then, there's the recurring motif of chains. From the literal chains that bind Hub to his duties as an undead bounty hunter to the figurative chains representing his emotional baggage, this symbol is ever present. Chains show up in various forms, from the shackles that bind demons to their fates, to the hidden meanings behind Lucifer's commands. The chains themselves are tied to the myth of Prometheus, a titan who was bound by chains for defying the gods, bringing fire to humanity. In the case of Hub, these chains are more than a mere plot device. They echo the struggle of every character, each one locked in their own form of servitude or damnation. For Hub, redemption is about breaking these chains, but the show makes it clear that this is not an easy task. Each chain is forged by his past, his decisions, and the very essence of his soul. Early in the series, we see a glimpse of a mysterious figure in the background of several scenes. He's an older man dressed in black, moving through shadows, rarely speaking, and often vanishing just as quickly as he appears. At first, his presence feels incidental, as if he's just another wandering soul caught up in the chaos of the supernatural world. But as the episodes unfold, this figure's significance becomes clearer. This man, whose face is obscured in most of his appearances, is revealed in a subtle but powerful callback to the figure of Charon, the mythological ferryman of the underworld. Charon's role is to guide souls across the river Styx to the afterlife, and this figure, though not explicitly named, fulfills a similar purpose in Hub's journey. He's not just a random character but an allegorical presence that marks the boundary between life, death, and the unknown. This subtle nod to Greek mythology deepens the series' exploration of the underworld and the transformation of Hub as he navigates the realms between the living and the dead. One of the most cleverly hidden details lies in the seemingly mundane objects and settings that Hub encounters. For example, the mysterious bar where Hub and his fellow bounty hunters congregate isn't just a place for camaraderie and plot exposition. It's a place filled with hidden symbolism. The walls of the bar are lined with framed photographs of the past, capturing moments that represent significant events in history, some familiar, others obscure. A particularly curious photograph shows a medieval knight locked in combat with a demonic figure, a direct reference to the classic battle between good and evil that permeates the series. This is a subtle nod to Hub's own journey. The knight represents a valiant hero who fights against dark forces, while the demon stands in for the temptation and corruption that Hub himself must fight against. The inclusion of this image, among many others, subtly hints at the eternal struggle between light and dark that is central to the series. The dialogue in The Bondsman is rich with hidden layers, and some of the lines spoken by Lucifer in particular are laced with deeper meaning. For example, in one scene, Lucifer casually remarks to Hub, "The dead may speak, but they never truly hear." On the surface, this line may seem like an offhand comment about Hub's undead state, but it's also a commentary on the nature of redemption. The dead, much like Hub, may wander the earth, trapped in their own personal purgatories, but they are never fully able to listen to the world around them, never able to connect with the living, nor truly hear the consequences of their actions. This line foreshadows Hub's struggle throughout the series. He is unable to fully hear the voices of those he has wronged, and his redemption is tied to him understanding not just his own pain but the pain of others. This theme of hearing and understanding is echoed in another subtle detail involving the character of Marianne. Early on, Marianne gives Hub a gift, a small, antique pocket watch. It's an odd gift for a bounty hunter, but it's not just a sentimental trinket. The pocket watch is an important symbol in the series, particularly in its intricate winding mechanism. When Hub later examines it, he discovers that the watch's ticking mechanism seems to slow down at certain intervals, an unsettling visual metaphor for his own journey. Time, it seems, doesn't flow the same for the undead. The watch's irregular ticking represents Hub's struggle to break free from the stagnant timeline that Lucifer has imposed on him. Just as the ticking falters and skips, so too does Hub's understanding of the life he once lived. The ticking, in essence, is a reminder that time, in the realm of the dead, has no fixed rhythm, and Hub must fight to regain control over it. In terms of foreshadowing, one of the most striking elements occurs during a scene in which Hub is preparing to hunt down a powerful demon. He picks up a weapon, an ancient, ornate dagger, and as he holds it, the camera lingers on the engraved symbols etched into the blade. At first, the significance of the symbols is unclear, but as the series progresses, it becomes evident that they are an exact match to the ones on the chains that bind the demons. These symbols are a direct link between Hub's struggle and the demons he must hunt. What the symbols represent is a puzzle that, as we watch Hub's journey unfold, slowly reveals itself. They are a map, a key to understanding the true nature of the afterlife and the means by which Hub can escape his servitude. The symbols don't just serve as a weapon, but as a map for Hub's personal redemption. Of course, the Bondsman wouldn't be complete without its fair share of Easter eggs, and the series is brimming with them. One of the most delightful is the inclusion of a book in the background of several scenes. The book's title, The Darkest Hour, is a subtle nod to both the series' thematic focus on personal redemption and the literal idea of facing darkness in the face of overwhelming odds. The book itself is never directly referenced, but its presence is unmistakable. It's an Easter egg for viewers who are paying close attention to the set design, and for those who know, it becomes a symbol of Hub's ultimate journey through his own darkest hour. Another fun Easter egg comes in the form of a throwaway line in Episode 3. During a heated conversation between Hub and Lucky jokes, "You're just a few demons away from having your own Netflix special." The line is a direct wink to the world of streaming media and the popularity of supernatural shows. It's a humorous moment, but it also shows the show's self-awareness. The Bondsman is aware of the genre conventions it's playing with, and it's not afraid to poke fun at itself. This moment of levity serves as a reminder that, for all the darkness and high stakes, the show is still a piece of entertainment made with a certain playful spirit. As the final episode approaches, the show's creators masterfully tie all the threads of symbolism and foreshadowing together in a stunning visual flourish. In the closing scene, Hub finally faces the ultimate decision: whether to continue in Lucifer's service or to break free and risk losing his soul forever. The camera pans out, revealing a distant horizon. The very same horizon we saw in the opening shot of the series, but now it is framed by the gates of a grand, decaying city, symbolizing the end of Hub's journey and the beginning of a new one. The city itself, resembling a mix of ancient ruins and modern decay, serves as a metaphor for Hub's internal transformation. Just as the city has fallen, so too has Hub's belief in the black and white notion of redemption. In the end, redemption isn't a place. It's a process, an ongoing journey marked by constant self-examination. The creation of the Bondsman was a monumental task from the very beginning. Set in a sprawling, supernatural world where realms of heaven, hell, and earth intertwine, the series required an immense amount of world building. But the challenges didn't just lie in crafting a visually stunning universe. They also revolved around the unique demands of the narrative itself. As the producers, cast, and crew would later reveal in interviews, this was a series that pushed the boundaries of television production in ways few could have anticipated. One of the earliest and most significant hurdles the production team faced was designing the supernatural realms that would be integral to the plot. The celestial landscapes, vast and surreal with impossible skies and towering structures, were unlike anything seen before on TV. But how do you create a world that visually represents the balance of good and evil while ensuring it doesn't feel like a typical heaven versus hell scenario? The answer came in the form of groundbreaking design work that drew from multiple artistic influences, from Byzantine religious iconography to modern, abstract art. Every detail of the celestial spaces in the Bondsman was carefully considered. But the real challenge came with executing these designs in a way that felt immersive and real. The show's set designers faced the daunting task of creating large-scale, multi-dimensional spaces on a limited budget, especially given the intricate details required for the celestial and demonic realms. The budget constraints led to some incredibly creative solutions. For example, many of the grand structures seen in Lucifer's palace were digitally created, but the production team took a completely unconventional approach to the physical sets. Instead of building enormous sets for scenes that took place in the afterlife, the team would often use empty, abandoned spaces, like old industrial warehouses, and then digitally insert the celestial imagery into the background. These warehouses were barren, cold, and often structurally unsound, creating a strange contrast with the ethereal landscapes that would eventually be created digitally. Actor Kevin Bacon, who portrayed Hub Halloran, shared his thoughts on the challenges of performing in these surreal settings. "We were often working in very sparse spaces," he said. "I had to imagine that we were in a vast, otherworldly palace, but all I had to work with was a plain, concrete floor. It was a real test of imagination. The experience wasn't always easy. There were times when the entire cast and crew had to shoot in uncomfortably cold environments, particularly when filming in one of the most notorious scenes set in the underworld. The underworld scenes, which depicted hellish landscapes, were filmed in a remote part of Iceland, in the shadow of volcanic craters. The temperature on set regularly dipped below freezing, making conditions difficult, especially for actors like Bacon, who was often required to appear stoic and unshaken despite the extreme cold. But it wasn't just the weather or the isolated locations that made shooting the Bondsman challenging. The supernatural elements in the story required a great deal of intricate visual effects work. Many of the battles between demons, angels, and undead were shot using a combination of practical effects and digital technology. However, the blending of practical effects with CGI was one of the trickiest parts of the production. VFX supervisor Jenna Sykes revealed in an interview that one particular scene, where Hub fights a demon that transforms into smoke and shadows, took over 3 weeks to perfect. We had to shoot the entire sequence live with stunt coordinators and actors, but then we had to match that with a fully digital smoke effect, Sykes said. Getting the two elements to feel like one seamless whole was one of the toughest challenges of my career. But when it clicked perfectly. What really made the visual effects stand out was the series' ability to make supernatural beings appear physically tangible, even though they were created in post-production. Lucifer, for example, was originally envisioned as a more human-like character, with his celestial powers conveyed through his performance alone. But as the design team developed his character, they felt that something more was needed to truly embody his immense otherworldliness. The decision was made to give Lucifer's character the ability to constantly shift between forms, becoming a swirling vortex of shadows and light whenever he was in a heightened state of anger or power. This meant that, instead of the traditional demonic figure with horns and fiery eyes, Lucifer would often appear as something far more abstract, an unsettling mix of smoke, light, and ever-changing form. This new design for the character, while visually stunning, led to significant challenges on set. It was hard for the actors to react to something they couldn't see, Bacon recalled. But it made for some interesting moments, especially during emotional scenes, when I was reacting to something invisible. The casting of Kevin Bacon as Hub Halloran was one of the most talked-about decisions in the early stages of production. At the time, there were rumors swirling around that the role would go to a much younger actor, given Hub's initial characterization as a brooding, cynical bounty hunter. However, the producers were insistent that Hub should be portrayed by someone with the emotional depth to carry the complexity of the character. Bacon, who had built a career on both dramatic and action-packed roles, was ultimately chosen for his ability to portray both vulnerability and strength. But what many don't know is that Bacon was initially hesitant to take on the role. "I was really drawn to the character," Bacon said in a behind-the-scenes interview. "But the undead aspect was a bit intimidating. I had never done anything quite like this before." Bacon worked closely with the makeup and prosthetics team to ensure that Hub's undead transformation was as convincing as possible. The team, led by prosthetics designer Maria Sanchez, used a combination of practical makeup and special effects to create the look of a man who had been brought back from the dead. But what was most fascinating about Bacon's involvement was his commitment to capturing the emotional toll of being undead. In several scenes, he insisted on wearing the makeup and prosthetics for extended periods before filming, allowing himself to feel the weight of the transformation physically. "There's something incredibly isolating about wearing that kind of makeup," he explained. "I wanted to feel disconnected, to give Hub a sense of being trapped in a body that doesn't quite belong to him anymore." While Bacon's dedication to his craft is widely known, another surprising aspect of the production involved some of the younger actors on the show. Maxwell Jenkins, who played Cade, had to undergo a considerable amount of training for his role, which required him to perform some challenging stunts. What many don't know is that Jenkins was initially cast for a completely different role in The Bondsman. He had auditioned for the role of a minor character, but when the production team saw his audition, they immediately saw potential in him for the role of Cade. The transformation from one role to another required Jenkins to undergo a crash course in stunt coordination, sword fighting, and even basic combat techniques. It was a learning curve that proved difficult at times, but it ultimately added a level of realism to his performance that fans would come to appreciate. I never expected to be wielding swords and fighting demons on a show like this, Jenkins laughed. But once I got into it, I realized just how much physicality plays into a character like Cade. Another surprising behind-the-scenes story revolves around the show's creator, who initially pitched The Bondsman as a much smaller, more intimate story. Originally envisioned as a character-driven drama, the show quickly evolved into something much larger in scope. During the first few weeks of production, however, the series was still operating on a shoestring budget, especially when it came to building the intricate sets needed for the show's supernatural locations. At one point, the production team had to repurpose a large warehouse in downtown Los Angeles to act as several different celestial locations. What was particularly surprising was how effectively they used the space. With a little imagination, the team turned the industrial warehouse into everything from a prison in the underworld to the ethereal realm where the angels reside. The creative ingenuity of the crew became one of the most talked about aspects of the show's production. However, not everything was smooth sailing during production. One of the more controversial moments came when the decision was made to include a particularly graphic scene in which Hub confronts a demon in a nightmarish, visceral battle. The scene was so intense that it caused some members of the cast and crew to question its place in the narrative. One particular scene, where Hub is forced to cut off the demon's arm in a bloody, high-stakes moment, was nearly cut from the final edit. The scene was met with mixed reactions from the team, with some believing it was too violent and others insisting it was necessary to showcase the stakes of Hub's struggle. Ultimately, the scene remained, and its impact on viewers was undeniable. It became one of the most memorable moments of the entire series, though it did spark some online controversy about the depiction of violence in the show. At the end of the day, The Bondsman proved to be a production full of surprises. Whether it was the unexpected visual effects breakthroughs, the unconventional set-building techniques, or the tense, controversial moments that made it a cultural touchstone. What's clear is that the cast, crew, and creators poured their hearts into bringing this unique and ambitious story to life. The challenges they faced on the way were just as gripping as the story itself, and the behind-the-scenes moments offer as much drama, passion, and intensity as anything seen on screen. The first time we meet Hub Halloran, played by Kevin Bacon, is an iconic moment in The Bondsman. The scene is stark, unsettling, and drenched in atmosphere. The camera focuses on Hub's face as he stands over the body of his latest target, the lifeless figure of a criminal who's crossed the wrong celestial being. Hub is an undead bounty hunter, a man caught between worlds, and this first scene encapsulates his inner conflict perfectly. As he stands in the shadows, contemplating his next move, there's a weight to his every decision. This opening isn't just about introducing Hub's grim occupation. It's about showing us the toll his undead existence has taken on him. The shot of Hub wiping the blood from his hands, only to look at his reflection and see nothing but a hollow shell, serves as an immediate and powerful reflection of his character. It's not only a visual cue to his undead state, but also an emotional one, foreshadowing the internal struggle he'll continue to face throughout the series. The longing for redemption and the horror of his existence. The scene, in many ways, sets the tone for the entire series. It's a masterclass in atmospheric storytelling. Silent, lingering, and heavy with tension. The audience immediately feels Hub's isolation and the cold weight of the world that surrounds him. This is a man who is no longer truly alive, yet is unable to escape his eternal role as a celestial bounty hunter. The emptiness of the world around him speaks volumes about his emotional state. He is trapped, caught in an endless cycle that he can't seem to break free from. This first sequence is impactful not just because it establishes the tone, but because it also foreshadows the central theme of the series, the cost of redemption. Hub's struggle to reconcile his past, the life he once lived, and the monster he has become is a theme that will echo through nearly every key moment in the show. That first glimpse of his face, raw, vulnerable, haunted, immediately draws the audience in and makes them empathize with his plight. It's a powerful opening that lays the groundwork for everything that follows. One of the most emotionally charged moments in the series occurs during a quiet, almost intimate scene between Hub and Marianne, the woman he once loved. Their reunion happens in the middle of the series, at a point where Hub is at his most vulnerable. The two sit together in a candlelit room, and the tension between them is palpable. The silence in the scene is overwhelming as they exchange few words. Instead, the weight of their shared history hangs heavily in the air. There's an ache to their interaction, a longing for what was lost and a painful realization that they can never return to that past. Marianne's face is a picture of sorrow, regret, and unspoken love, while Hub's expression is a mixture of guilt and unfulfilled longing. The beauty of this scene lies in its simplicity. The dialogue is minimal, yet the actors' performances tell us everything we need to know. Kevin Bacon's restrained portrayal of Hub is stunning here. Every glance, every shift in his posture speaks volumes. He's not just a man confronting his past. He's a man realizing the immensity of what he's lost. Marianne, for her part, is the mirror to his grief. She knows that, despite the years that have passed, she will always be connected to him. But she also understands that their love can never return to its former state. It's a moment of tragic realization for both characters, but also for the audience, as we are reminded that the series is not just about battles in otherworldly realms. It's about the emotional weight carried by those caught in these battles. What makes this scene truly resonate is its thematic significance. At its core, this reunion isn't just about two former lovers reconnecting. It's about Hub's attempt to reconcile with his past self and the decisions that led him to become the undead bounty hunter he is today. In this scene, Hub's regret is as tangible as the space between him and Marianne, and it marks a key turning point in his character arc. His longing for redemption is no longer abstract. It's rooted in his relationship with Marianne, and his desire to be whole again becomes even more urgent. The symbolism here is key. Throughout the series, the theme of love lost and the passage of time plays a crucial role in shaping the narrative. Hub's undead existence has robbed him not only of his life, but also of the opportunity for emotional closure. In this moment with Marianne, we see just how deep that loss runs. It's a gut-wrenching reminder that, for all the supernatural battles and celestial intrigue, the heart of the Bondsman is about the internal struggle of a man who cannot escape his own personal hell. The battle between Hub and Lucifer, the devilish antagonist of the series, is one of the most anticipated moments in the show. Their first confrontation is nothing short of spectacular. The fight takes place in a vast, otherworldly arena, with shifting shadows and surreal lighting that adds an ethereal, dreamlike quality to the proceedings. It's a battle not just between two characters, but between two opposing forces, redemption and damnation. Lucifer, as a character, represents the ultimate temptation. He is the embodiment of Hub's internal struggle. Every blow struck during the fight is symbolic. Hub is fighting not only for his life, but for his soul, for a chance at redemption that seems just out of reach. What makes this battle so impactful is the emotional depth it carries. As Hub faces off against Lucifer, the stakes are personal. The fight isn't just physical, it's psychological. For Hub, Lucifer is a constant reminder of the past mistakes that led him to his current state. But it's also more than that. Lucifer is an outward manifestation of the temptation to embrace the darkness within, to give in to despair and abandon any hope of salvation. Throughout the battle, the choreography is deliberate and emotionally charged, with each move representing a step in Hub's ongoing internal conflict. The fight becomes a metaphor for his struggle between the urge to give in to his darker instincts and the faint hope of rising above them. This confrontation is crucial to the series' emotional arc. For viewers, it serves as the culmination of everything Hub has been grappling with throughout the story. It's the ultimate test of his character, and it forces him to confront not just Lucifer, but his own choices. As the battle reaches its peak, there is a sense of inevitability, a recognition that Hub cannot escape his fate, but must choose how to confront it. In the end, his decision in this moment shapes his character's future, and the audience feels the weight of that choice. Equally powerful is the quiet, almost serene scene that follows this climactic battle. After the confrontation with Lucifer, Hub finds himself standing alone in a field, gazing at a distant horizon. The camera lingers on him, capturing the emotional exhaustion and quiet determination in his eyes. There is no grand resolution here, no easy answers, just the sense that, after all the violence, betrayal, and temptation, Hub is left to come to terms with who he is and what he has become. It's a moment of pure emotional release, where the character sheds the weight of the external battles and focuses on the internal war that still rages within him. This quiet moment of reflection is one of the most emotional in the entire series, as it encapsulates the central theme of the Bondsman. The battle for redemption is not won through violence, but through self-awareness and acceptance. One of the most fascinating and unexpected key moments occurs near the series' end when Hub finally learns the truth about his death. Throughout the series, Hub has been convinced that his untimely return to the mortal world was the result of an accident, a cruel twist of fate that left him in limbo, neither alive nor fully dead. However, in a moment of revelation, he uncovers the truth. His death was no accident. He had been chosen by a higher power, a cosmic force that saw in him the potential for redemption, despite the sins he had committed in life. This revelation is a game-changer for Hub, and it forces him to confront his own agency and responsibility in the narrative of his life and death. This twist serves as a stunning thematic shift in the series. Until this point, Hub's journey had been defined by the belief that he was merely a victim of circumstance, trapped in a world that was no longer his own. But in this moment, he learns that he is not just a pawn in a larger cosmic game. He is an active participant in his own redemption. This realization adds new depth to his character, shifting his motivations from a quest for personal survival to a quest for self-determination and meaning. The truth about his death becomes a turning point, forcing the audience to reevaluate Hub's entire journey, and it heightens the emotional stakes of the series as a whole. In terms of audience reactions, these key moments all play into the larger emotional narrative of the Bondsman. The show has been lauded for its character-driven storytelling and its ability to create tension and emotional depth. Audiences have praised the series for its complex, multidimensional characters and its willingness to explore the inner lives of its protagonists. The moments of quiet reflection and intense emotional battles have resonated deeply with viewers, making The Bondsman not just a supernatural tale, but a deeply human story about the cost of redemption and the power of choice. Ultimately, these key moments shape the overall experience of the show, creating a rich, immersive journey that doesn't just rely on spectacle, but on emotional and thematic resonance. The Bondsman is a series that asks difficult questions about fate, redemption, and identity, and these moments serve as milestones on a deeply personal journey. The beauty of the show lies in how these pivotal scenes blend together to form a cohesive narrative, one that is both visually stunning and emotionally gripping. By the end, the viewer is left with a sense of profound reflection on the journey Hub has taken, and on the larger themes of the show itself. The making of The Bondsman was an extraordinary feat, not just in terms of storytelling but also for its groundbreaking use of both traditional and cutting-edge production techniques. This TV miniseries was more than just a show. It was a remarkable journey that tested the limits of what modern television could achieve in both visual effects and emotional depth. From its innovative approach to world-building to its revolutionary advancements in filming techniques, The Bondsman pushed the boundaries of what viewers could expect from a television experience, while also delivering the heart and soul of a captivating drama. One of the first challenges the production team faced was how to bring the complex celestial realms to life in a way that felt fresh and original. These realms, which in many ways formed the very essence of the show, had to look and feel otherworldly but also grounded in some form of reality. There was a conscious decision to avoid the traditional heavenly glow or the fiery chaos often seen in depictions of hell. Instead, the design team opted for a more ethereal, abstract aesthetic that conveyed both the beauty and danger of these realms in a unique, non-literal way. The celestial world, for example, was built from a series of large, floating geometrical shapes that seemed to bend and shift with the very fabric of reality. These floating shapes, inspired by modernist art and celestial mapping, were visually stunning and completely new for a series of this scale. But creating these otherworldly environments wasn't a simple task. A large portion of the production was spent creating digital models of these geometries, which were then seamlessly integrated into real-world locations. While many scenes were shot on practical sets, the real challenge came in blending these digital elements with live-action footage in such a way that they didn't feel like two separate worlds colliding. This required the use of cutting-edge motion capture and visual effects technology, pushing the boundaries of what had been done on television up until that point. The blending of practical and digital effects was taken a step further in one of the series' most talked-about sequences, the battle between Hub and Lucifer in the Celestial Arena. Here, the challenge was not only to create a visually striking environment, but to depict the supernatural strength and power of these beings. The scene was filmed in an empty, abandoned space, where the crew used a combination of motion capture rigs and extensive green screen work to transform it into an impossible, floating battleground. To add to the realism of the fight, the actors were surrounded by high-tech rigging that allowed them to perform stunts and fight sequences that mimicked the immense strength and agility of their supernatural characters. The technical brilliance of this sequence became even more apparent when the final product was revealed. What the audience saw wasn't simply a battle between two powerful figures. It was a visceral experience that felt both physical and otherworldly. The special effects, particularly the manipulation of light, shadows, and textures in the scene, allowed for a unique and immersive visual language. What made this battle even more impactful was the fact that the technology was never obvious to the viewer. It wasn't about showcasing cutting-edge techniques, but about using them in a way that enhanced the storytelling. Of course, creating these stunning visual effects required a level of collaboration between departments that went beyond typical television productions. The set designers, for example, had to think in 3 dimensions to accommodate both practical and virtual elements. When the production crew wasn't filming on location, they were shooting on custom design sets that looked bare to the untrained eye. These sets were meant to serve as blank slates, allowing the visual effects team to build worlds around the actors and the story. The lighting on these sets played a key role in adding an ethereal quality to the supernatural scenes. The lighting designers worked hand-in-hand with the VFX team to create subtle shifts in light that gave the scenes an almost dreamlike quality. The manipulation of shadows and reflective surfaces was key to making the celestial and infernal realms feel like they had a life of their own, constantly shifting and altering in response to the characters' emotions and actions. But the production wasn't without its challenges. One of the most notorious hurdles the team faced was filming in extreme environments, particularly the scenes set in Hell. The production crew chose Iceland as the location for these sequences, due to the country's stark, volcanic landscapes, which provided the perfect backdrop for the series' depiction of the underworld. But shooting in Iceland proved far more difficult than anyone had anticipated. While the volcanic terrain provided the dramatic landscapes necessary for these scenes, the production team faced some of the most extreme weather conditions they had ever encountered. The temperature regularly dropped to below freezing, and the crew had to work under heavy rain and wind. Some of the most harrowing scenes were shot during these harsh conditions, where both cast and crew had to endure the freezing temperatures to get the perfect take. Kevin Bacon, who portrayed Hub, shared a particularly grueling experience in an interview. "There were days when I was wrapped up in layers and layers of clothing, just to try and keep warm, but I had to shoot scenes in full makeup, drenched in fake blood and sweat, and the wind was howling. It made it feel even more intense, though. It added a layer of realism to the scenes, especially when you're playing a character who's trapped in this otherworldly purgatory. But the harsh conditions also led to some surprising moments of serendipity. One of the most memorable shots in the underworld sequences wasn't planned at all. During a particularly cold day of shooting, a sudden burst of wind caused a large sheet of ice to crack, creating a massive fissure in the ground just as the actors were preparing for a scene. Instead of stopping production, the director decided to incorporate the unexpected event into the scene. This crack, which was captured in real time, became an important visual symbol in the final episode. It symbolized Hub's own emotional and spiritual fracture as he confronts his fate. What could have been a technical obstacle instead turned into a beautiful, haunting shot that perfectly encapsulated the show's themes. Perhaps one of the most unique technical achievements in The Bondsman was the use of a virtual camera system that allowed the crew to film scenes that seemed impossible. This system allowed for a greater degree of freedom in creating dynamic, sweeping shots of the celestial and infernal landscapes, something that would have been far too expensive and impractical to achieve with traditional methods. The virtual camera technology gave the directors and cinematographers the ability to move through a digitally created world in real time, making it feel as though the camera itself was part of the story. This allowed for dramatic, wide-angle shots that would have been impossible with traditional cameras, giving the audience a true sense of being part of these fantastical worlds. What made this technique even more impressive was the fact that it was combined with traditional cinematography techniques. The crew still used physical cameras for key scenes, and the blending of real-world shots with digital landscapes was handled so seamlessly that it became nearly impossible for the viewer to tell where reality ended and digital manipulation began. This immersive technique became an essential part of the show's narrative language, allowing the audience to feel like they were truly in these supernatural realms. It wasn't about spectacle for the sake of spectacle. It was about creating a world that felt as real as the characters within it. Another remarkable technical achievement was the series' use of sound design. The sound team on the Bondsman worked tirelessly to create a unique auditory experience that matched the visual spectacle. From the faint whispers of celestial beings to the guttural roars of demonic forces, every sound in the series was intentionally crafted to evoke a specific emotional response. The sound of Hub's footsteps, for example, was deliberately heavy and slow, reflecting the weight of his journey and his internal conflict. Meanwhile, the celestial realms were filled with faint, harmonic undertones, almost like a distant echo of a forgotten song, adding to the sense of otherworldliness. In contrast, the underworld was filled with unsettling noises, low growls, the crackling of flames, and distant screams that immediately pulled the viewer into the chaos and danger of that realm. But while these technical innovations were a cornerstone of the show's production, it was the collaboration between the creative teams that truly brought the Bondsman to life. The director, visual effects supervisors, and the actors all worked closely to ensure that the visuals never overshadowed the emotional core of the story. The result was a series that wasn't just visually stunning. It was narratively and emotionally rich. The technical aspects were always in service of the story, ensuring that the audience was never distracted by the spectacle, but instead immersed in a world that felt as visceral and real as the characters' emotional journeys. At the heart of the production was an unwavering dedication to innovation. The Bondsman set out to do something different, to break new ground in both visual storytelling and emotional depth. Whether it was the integration of virtual camera technology, the use of practical effects in unorthodox ways, or the unpredictable challenges faced during production, the entire team behind the series was committed to pushing the limits of what could be done on television. In the end, The Bondsman didn't just succeed as a groundbreaking visual spectacle. It succeeded because it used those groundbreaking techniques to serve the emotional and narrative heart of the story. The technical achievements, while impressive in their own right, were always in service of bringing the characters' journeys to life in a way that had never been done before. It's this combination of artistry, innovation, and heart that makes The Bondsman truly unforgettable. The Bondsman is a story that transcends the supernatural and dives into some of the most complex, timeless questions about identity, redemption, morality, and the consequences of one's actions. Beneath its surface of celestial battles, undead bounty hunters, and cosmic realms, the series is a rich tapestry of themes and symbolism that reflects the internal struggles of its characters, while also offering a subtle, yet powerful, commentary on the world we live in. As we delve into these deeper messages, it becomes clear that The Bondsman is not just a fantastical narrative. It is a reflection of real-world anxieties, desires, and social dilemmas, making it a poignant mirror of society's most enduring questions. The central theme of the show is the quest for redemption, which is intricately woven into the life of Hub Halloran, the undead bounty hunter. Hub's journey is about much more than hunting down criminals for the celestial realm. It's about grappling with the guilt of his past and the constant desire to atone for his previous sins. At its core, The Bondsman is a meditation on the price of redemption and the difficulty of forgiving oneself. Hub is a character who exists in a state of purgatory, neither fully alive nor fully dead, and his existence is defined by a search for meaning in a world that temperatures to get the perfect take. Kevin Bacon, who portrayed Hub, shared a particularly grueling experience in an interview. There were days when I was wrapped up in layers and layers of clothing, just to try and keep warm, but I had to shoot scenes in full makeup, drenched in fake blood and sweat, and the wind was howling. It made it feel even more intense, though. It added a layer of realism to the scenes, especially when you're playing a character who's trapped in this otherworldly purgatory, constantly reminds him of his failures. This conflict is not just supernatural. It's deeply human. As we watch Hub navigate his world, we see the emotional toll of trying to redeem a past that cannot be changed. His struggle to forgive himself, to understand his place in the grand cosmic order, mirrors the real-world challenge of confronting one's own mistakes and the harsh reality that redemption, for all its promise, comes at an immense cost. What's particularly striking about Hub's redemption arc is how it explores the idea of moral ambiguity. In traditional stories of redemption, the character seeking salvation is usually portrayed as deserving of it, whether they've been wronged or simply lost their way. But Hub is different. He is a deeply flawed man who, throughout his life, made decisions that led him down a dark and irreversible path. His quest for redemption isn't simple. It's about him trying to justify his existence, to make sense of a world that, on the surface, seems indifferent to the very notion of salvation. As Hub's journey unfolds, the audience is forced to ask difficult questions about what makes someone worthy of redemption. Is it enough to acknowledge one's faults? Or is there a greater cosmic scale at play that determines whether redemption is truly achievable? The celestial world in the Bondsman functions as a symbol of both divine order and the rigidity of cosmic justice. The celestial beings are not benevolent gods as we might expect in traditional mythologies. They are arbiters of a cold, indifferent system that seems more concerned with maintaining balance than offering compassion. This presents a stark contrast to Hub's own struggle for meaning and atonement. The celestial realm, with its cold geometry and ethereal architecture, symbolizes a universe that is governed by rules far beyond human understanding. This brings us to one of the show's most profound symbolic elements, the idea of cosmic bureaucracy. The celestial beings, as depicted in the Bondsman, are almost mechanical in their judgments and decision-making, creating a universe where divine justice seems more like an automated process than a compassionate force. This raises a fundamental question that the series explores. If the universe is governed by an unfeeling system of laws, where does free will fit in? Can a person truly redeem themselves in such a world, or are they doomed to follow a predetermined path, no matter their desires? Throughout the series, this cosmic order is contrasted with the emotional, human elements of Hub's story. The symbolism of his struggle is inescapably tied to this tension between the unforgiving, mechanical nature of the celestial system and the very human desire to be understood and forgiven. The celestial beings, who appear almost like administrators of cosmic law, are not evil. They simply embody the larger, impersonal system at work. In many ways, they represent the societal systems we encounter in our own world, systems that, despite their necessity for order, often fail to account for the complexity of individual lives and the depth of personal struggle. In this way, the Bondsman speaks to the inherent flaws in social structures, especially those that prioritize law and order over compassion and understanding. The symbolism of Hub's undead state is another crucial element of the series. His existence, caught between life and death, is emblematic of the liminality we often feel in life, stuck between competing desires, between who we were and who we want to be. Hub is a character who is haunted by his past, unable to escape the memories of who he was, and yet constantly searching for a way to transform into something better. His undead existence represents the human condition of being caught in a cycle of self-doubt and guilt, unable to fully reconcile one's past actions with the hope for a better future. In this sense, his character serves as a metaphor for anyone who struggles with the burden of their past, anyone who feels as though they are constantly fighting against the weight of their own mistakes. The underworld, too, functions as a powerful symbol in the show, representing not just a literal afterlife, but the darker, repressed aspects of the human psyche. When Hub ventures into the depths of the underworld to confront Lucifer and his demons, it's not just a physical journey, it's a psychological one. The terrifying, chaotic landscapes of hell reflect the internal conflict Hub faces. The deeper he goes into the underworld, the more he faces the parts of himself that he has tried to bury. His shame, his fear, his anger. The underworld, with its shifting landscapes and unpredictable dangers, mirrors the tumultuous emotional terrain Hub must navigate to face his own inner demons. In a way, the underworld represents the battle within every person who has ever faced their own moral failings, the desire to hide from the darkest parts of ourselves, and the eventual, unavoidable need to confront them. This psychological aspect of the underworld speaks to a broader theme of self-awareness. Throughout the series, Hub's journey is one of increasing self-awareness and recognition of the complexity of his own identity. The idea of facing the self is present in many cultures and philosophies, and the Bondsman taps into this deeply rooted belief that true transformation can only occur when we face who we really are. In this context, the underworld's role in the story is not just a supernatural challenge, but a deeply personal one. It's in these moments of introspection and confrontation with his past that Hub truly begins to understand what it means to seek redemption, not as a simple goal, but as a lifelong, painful process of coming to terms with oneself. The show also makes pointed, though subtle, social commentary on the nature of justice and punishment. The celestial realm, with its detached, bureaucratic approach to law and order, reflects a critique of modern legal and governmental systems. In many ways, the Bondsman is asking us to question whether justice can ever truly be fair when it is governed by rules that do not take individual circumstances into account. The celestial beings, while seemingly just, are trapped in a system that dehumanizes the very people it aims to save. In this way, the show comments on the societal systems that prioritize punishment over rehabilitation, that view individuals through the lens of their crimes rather than their capacity for change. Moreover, the character of Lucifer is not just a traditional villain in the Bondsman. He is a symbol of temptation and manipulation, embodying the seductive pull of power, control, and unchecked desire. Throughout the series, Lucifer attempts to lure Hub into abandoning his search for redemption and giving in to the chaos and darkness of the underworld. This struggle between Hub and Lucifer reflects a universal human experience, the battle between personal integrity and the tempting lure of shortcuts, the desire for power, or the comfort of surrendering to one's darker impulses. Lucifer's role as the tempter is a powerful reminder of the ways in which societal structures can be manipulated to serve the powerful, and how individuals are often seduced by the promise of easier, less morally complex solutions to their problems. At a broader level, the Bondsman also explores themes of identity and personal agency. Hub's struggle to define himself, to navigate the expectations placed upon him by both the celestial beings and society, mirrors the journey many people face in finding their own path in the world. His quest for redemption is not just about righting his past wrongs. It's about carving out a space for himself where he can exist on his own terms, where his identity is not dictated by external forces but by his own choices. This is a theme that resonates deeply in today's world, where people are constantly confronted by societal pressures, expectations, and roles that often conflict with their authentic selves. The Bondsman speaks to the complexity of personal identity in a world that seems increasingly polarized and divided, encouraging viewers to think critically about who they are and what they stand for in the face of a larger, sometimes unyielding world. Through its intricate themes and rich symbolism, The Bondsman becomes much more than a supernatural drama. It is a reflection on the human experience, on the struggles we face in our own lives, and on the universal quest for meaning, redemption, and personal growth. The series invites viewers to question not just the cosmic order that governs its world, but the societal systems that shape our own lives, urging us to find compassion, forgiveness, and understanding in a world that often feels cold and indifferent. Ultimately, the Bondsman suggests that the true journey of redemption is not about escaping the past, but confronting it, understanding it, and forging a new path forward, one that allows for both self-awareness and the possibility of change. In The Bondsman, every visual frame feels meticulously crafted, every sound intentionally placed, and every moment of editing serves the larger goal of immersing viewers in its complex, otherworldly story. The visual style, cinematography, and editing of the miniseries play a critical role in defining its tone, enhancing the emotional depth of its characters, and giving life to the celestial and infernal realms that serve as the backdrop for the characters' journeys. By analyzing these elements, we can see how the filmmakers used a masterful combination of techniques to create an experience that feels both cinematic and visceral, drawing audiences into a world that is not just seen, but felt. The series opens with striking imagery that immediately sets the tone. Wide, sweeping shots of the celestial realms, their abstract architecture floating against a dark, starry expanse, a delicate, almost surreal landscape that gives a sense of detachment and distance. The decision to depict these otherworldly places in such an abstract and disjointed way is both a visual and thematic choice, signaling to the audience that The Bondsman is not a traditional narrative. It's a journey into something far more elusive and intangible, where both physical space and emotional landscapes blur. The visual style here is a blend of minimalist design and surrealism. It communicates an overwhelming sense of grandeur, but also isolation, a feeling of being both part of and completely separate from the vast, infinite world. This sense of alienation is mirrored in the character of Hub, who, despite being caught between life and death, feels disconnected from both worlds. The cinematography of The Bondsman is characterized by its use of wide shots and expansive, panoramic vistas, creating an almost ethereal quality to the scenes set in the celestial and infernal realms. These sweeping shots give a sense of scale that is essential for conveying the vastness of these supernatural worlds. However, what's particularly remarkable about the cinematography is the careful balance between these grand, sweeping vistas and the intimate, close-up shots of the characters' faces. This contrast speaks to the emotional tension at the heart of the show, the tension between the macro and the micro, the cosmic and the personal. While the celestial and infernal realms may feel as though they're governed by a larger cosmic order, the filmmakers never lose sight of the deeply personal struggles of the characters. These close-ups, often captured in muted lighting, serve to bring the audience into the psyche of the characters, particularly Hub, whose internal battle is the driving force of the narrative. As the story progresses and we venture deeper into the underworld, the cinematography shifts. The once elegant, geometric design of the celestial world gives way to a far more chaotic, unsettling style. Here, the camera work becomes more frenetic, shifting perspectives, sudden zooms, and jagged, almost violent camera movements mirror the emotional turmoil that Hub experiences as he faces his inner demons. The deliberate choice to use a handheld camera in these sequences enhances the feeling of instability, both in the environment and in the character's psyche. In contrast to the precise, controlled shots in the celestial realm, the underworld feels claustrophobic and unpredictable, visually echoing the sense of danger, confusion, and self-doubt that pervades Hub's journey. The editing in The Bondsman is equally integral to its storytelling. One of the most striking techniques employed in the series is the use of nonlinear editing to explore Hub's fractured sense of time and memory. The series frequently jumps between past and present, between Hub's life before death and his current quest for redemption. This disjointed, almost dreamlike structure allows the show to explore Hub's emotional state and inner conflict, while also deepening the mystery of his past. These temporal shifts are handled with a fluidity that feels almost organic, as if the editing itself is a reflection of Hub's unstable grasp on reality. Through the creative use of flashbacks, time becomes a malleable concept, mirroring the series' thematic exploration of liminality and personal transformation. Another noteworthy element of the editing is the use of montage sequences, particularly during moments of great emotional or psychological significance. In one sequence, Hub is forced to relive key moments from his past, each choice, each failure, while navigating the treacherous terrain of the underworld. The use of rapid, disjointed cuts during these moments builds an intense, almost overwhelming sense of emotional chaos. The montage serves as a visual representation of Hub's fragmented identity, and the disorientation it creates mirrors the character's emotional disarray. These sequences are jarring, uncomfortable, and visually arresting, and they offer a unique storytelling technique that draws the viewer deeper into Hub's psyche. While the visual style and editing are essential in shaping the story, the Bondsman's sound design and music are just as critical in creating the atmosphere and emotional tone that define the series. The sound design of the Bondsman is carefully crafted to highlight the contrasts between the celestial, the infernal, and the human realms, each with its own distinct auditory language. The celestial world, with its geometric beauty and distant expanse, is accompanied by a haunting, almost otherworldly soundscape. The sound here is light, ethereal, and echoing, like the soft hum of distant celestial bodies. High, crystalline tones ring out when celestial beings speak, and the gentle reverberations of wind through hollow spaces create a sense of vastness and detachment. The sound of soft footsteps in this world is amplified, as if echoing through an endless void, adding a feeling of weightlessness, as if the rules of sound and space do not apply.